Boom, boom, boom. This is the Raw and the Real Athlete podcast with Chris and Cam. What up, Chris?
Not much, man. Glad to be here. I'm honestly, I have so much to talk about, but I know we have to reel it in today to introduce ourselves to the people. But I'm super pumped for this podcast. I really, really am.
Me too, man. Me too. We actually connected via Twitter,
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2 or 3 years ago.
Something like that.
Do you remember the specifics on how?
Yeah. I watched your documentary on Netflix.
Oh, okay.
Counterpunch, I think is what it was called, right? Counterpunch.
Yeah.
Which if you haven't seen it, obviously check it out on Netflix.
Spoiler
and
alert,
I'm sitting on my couch. I shoot this guy a message, and I'm just like, go find him on Twitter, and I'm like, hey, I would just love to talk to you about your experience and da-da-da-da. I work with athletes. And he responded, bada bing, bada boom, we became friends. He traveled to Texas at some point with your speaking opportunities, and that's how we connected.
Yeah, and had a workout too. I came back a second time.
Mm-hmm.
Or was that the same day? Anyway, did a workout.
Probably both.
So you're out in Colleyville.
Colleyville. I wish it was Coffeyville. That'd be cool. That'd be badass. It's not.
It's less
Coffeyville, man. I'm out in Colleyville, so I'm actually in what's called mid-cities. It's right between Dallas and Fort Worth in Texas, so I can drive 20 minutes either way and get to either major city.
Yeah, awesome. And so career-wise, what's kind of your background and your education?
Yeah, so let's introduce the folks to what we kind of do now, so they get at least an idea of who the hell they're listening to, right? So I own Missimo Motivation, so it's a business geared towards facilitating a gap that currently exists in holistic and preventative care, particularly for athletes, gamers, and a couple of other populations. But I really, really, really love athletes, which is why we're doing this podcast. Now, I facilitate that gap between mental and physical health on the preventative and holistic side by providing psychotherapy, life coaching, psych testing, and strength and conditioning training. So I have a real heart for bridging the mind-body connection. I'm also transitioning into another position here soon, which I can speak to at another point in the fitness industry that I'll be adding to what I do business-wise. But long story short is I'm always looking for opportunities to mend and heal and grow mental and physical health when it comes to athletes. So that's me right now. Cam, can you provide a little bit maybe about what you're doing now? I know your story has actually changed in the last 2 or 3 years that I've known you.
Yeah, story has actually changed in the last 2 or 3 months, just everything going on in the world. But a little backstory about me. I'm a boxer, been on Team USA for about a decade. I was captain of Team USA boxing team for about a decade. I was 2000. I made the 2008 Olympic trials. I won the 2012 Olympic trials. Didn't go to the actual games. Won the 2016 Olympic trials. Didn't go to the actual games. And 2020 Olympic trials, I fought for Trinidad and Tobago, and I was supposed to be fighting in Argentina a few weeks ago to qualify for the Tokyo Olympics. But now that the Tokyo Olympics will be said to be in 2021, I'm transitioning more in since there's no public sports. Doing more of my public speaking because the last few years I've built a pretty successful business public speaking, averaging over 100 paid speaking gigs a year, speaking at schools on bullying, social media use and the long-term effect of a digital footprint, social emotional learning, and goal setting and confidence. So that's kind of what I'm bringing to the podcast. You're bringing a unique perspective.
Yeah, I think we're the opposite side of the same coin. You're kind of in the shit, if you will. This is raw and real, so I'm going to curse sometimes. You're in the shit because you're the athlete, and then I'm the one on the sidelines, the professional. Oh my God, can you hear my cat?
Can I see your cat? Actually, I've yet to see your cat.
Can you see my cat?
He doesn't follow my directions. He's not going to.
Okay.
He just wants to be left out. He wants to be out of the room. He's going to get over it. Yeah, you're again, guys. This is guys and girls that are listening. This is going to be raw and real in all of the senses, including the cat appearances. But opposite sides of the same coin, right? So I'm the professional on the sidelines. I'm the one that really cares about you holistically, but you're the one actually doing the performing, right? So yeah, I think you and I are going to be a great fit when it comes to talking about issues on athletes. Because we're just gonna tell it how it is, and our viewers are going to find that I personally don't really give a shit if people like what I have to say or not. I'm going to fight. I'm usually a pro player. You'll find that. And I feel like, Cam, you're the same. I think that's why you and I synced up, is because you're pretty open and honest about your viewpoints. So I think this is going to be a great podcast. Now, a little more background on me to kind of how I got to what I'm doing now with athletes. And I don't just work with athletes. I work with adolescents, young adults. I work with a lot of esports athletes. So I'm partnered, in a sense, with UNT Esports, University of North Texas here in the Metroplex. And I do a lot of financial counseling. I do some dating stuff. But again, we're going to really focus on athletes here. And how I got into that was I was in therapy for 10 years, between ages of 5 and 15. I was hospitalized 11 times between 5 and about age 11. And I was on medication for 13 years, between 5 and 18. And I had a lot of anger issues. Bipolar 2, conduct disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, and ADHD were my diagnoses. It was so bad. I mean, we're talking stabbing kids with pencils, cracking heads open with super soaker handles. I mean, snapping a pool stick on a family member's leg. I mean, I was just a hyper violent child. And sports helped to really save my life in adolescence, particularly collision sports, contact sports. That really turned things around for me. And it was sports that led me to kind of this mind-body balance in my life. And I don't know if I would have gotten out of my mental health struggles if it wasn't for hyper violent sport. And that whole process of having that outlet. So I'm not an athlete like you in the sense that I don't have the talent that you have. So I saw myself helping the field in a different way from an academic standpoint. And so I dedicated my life to doing that, and that brought me to where I am now.
Awesome. I finally got to see your cat now. It's a little curious back.
I have this super obnoxious Baylor collage in his way. If you couldn't tell, that's where I went to school.
Oh, is that where? I was wondering.
Yeah. No, I went to TCU.
Nice. Usually people put like the diploma in their background, but you're like, nah, we know what's up.
That's at my office. And the office is on lockdown right now, so we're in the home office.
Totally understand. So my reason for getting into boxing is I dealt with a lack of confidence and was dealing with bullying, and luckily I fell into boxing, joined the gym just to lose weight, and found my confidence. Actually found too much confidence, and it became more of an arrogance and a cockiness, and I rode that wave for a very long time, and I thought it was genuine. And after I had some humble pie in 2012, I then kind of learned. That's when I learned how I learned that there's a mental strength involved in not just sports but in life. And since then, I've been kind of going through a spiritual journey of actually learning about how I react to the way I think, the way I do because of my past. So a lot of like reflection, and a lot of ways I think about, I had issues communicating, and I would, if something wasn't my way, as captain of the team and as the most important person ever, I would just make some executive decisions. I would throw tantrums, and now that I look back at it, I didn't communicate well with coaches. I'm not saying I was wrong. A lot of times I would butt heads with coaches, and I would speak on behalf of the athletes, but I didn't communicate it well, and I didn't speak to the coaches in a way that they wanted to be spoken to. And I realized that communication is a large part of the coaching process. And some coaches know a lot about the sport, but they're not particularly great communicators. So I think you're going to help me grow a lot.
We're going to talk in depth about we're going to talk in depth about that. At some point we'll get into my rant model and all that stuff, but I think your story, guys, if you haven't seen, I'm talking to the people who are watching, if you haven't seen Counterpunch on Netflix, it's still up there, right, Cam?
Yeah.
Is it still? You got to go check it out, because it'll give visually a lot of background and explanation to what Cam is trying to explain. It's a wonderful documentary, essentially following three different boxers, kind of at different levels of their pursuit and what they value in their boxing profession. Yeah. And it's going to provide a lot of context for what we have to talk about, which is athletes. And you brought up some mental health struggles. We're going to talk in combinations. It's a good transition to this final piece we want to touch on today, which is what we're going to actually be covering in this podcast and in this video series. Is we're going to be covering all forms of hot topics, current topics, but then also mental and physical health topics as they pertain to athletes. And we want to welcome coaches, families, and athletes, and just layman people who are interested in learning about different forms of the athletic experience, and just to stay up to date on current athletic trends. we're going to cover all of that, and we have to take it piece at a time, because you and I, even before we hopped on this, you and I were already spending 20, 30 minutes jumping from topic to topic, and it's going to be really easy to do that. But I want to provide, and you can echo this if you agree, Cam, and I think we're on the same page, otherwise we wouldn't have done this. But I really want to provide a place where again, individuals and groups, teams, can come and listen to something that is different. It is raw. It cuts the bullshit. It doesn't follow the politics of athletics. I am obligated to no university to. I know you see it, but I don't actually work for Baylor, right? I wish that'd be cool. But you and I are of no obligation to any NCAA or professional entities, and so we can be real here, or Olympic. So we can be honest and real, and that's what we want to bring to our listeners. Is we are going to cover all things mental, physical health, and current topics in a legit, authentic way.
But I will just add, in interest of full disclosure, I'm on the board of directors as the athlete representative for the United States Olympic Boxing Organization. Now, I don't speak on behalf of them. I'm on the board literally to speak on behalf of the athletes. So everything I'm going to say here is stuff that I say in the board meetings. So
right,
I'm pretty transparent, and I'm not the most liked person. So, which I don't know, I'm pretty charming.
Well, listen, I love you because you're me, you're authentic and you're real, and I value that authenticity over the politics and the bullshit. And you're gonna, like I said, you guys are gonna find that. I think both of us are gonna be pretty pro player when it comes down to the things that we cover. But they'll get that in due time. They'll consume it and they'll get it. We don't have to tell them. I have no doubt in my mind that people will, as they listen to this podcast and as they watch this series, feel, for better or worse, the authenticity that you and I are about to deliver.
Keeping it real, son.
Yes.
Well, this is just going to be a quick intro, just kind of explain who we are and what we're about and what you could be expecting from our podcast. We want you to like, subscribe, share, talk about it. If not, just listen. Anything you want to add, Chris?
Yeah, the absolute, again, I'm going to be real. Part of this for me is very much building a platform for change, for good. The absolute best thing you can do for us, if you are listening to this, is to follow along and share and like and rate. Like Cam was saying, I want this to be something where Cam and I can authentically, you're going to hear that word so much, authentically impact the system of athletics for the better by delivering real information. So please, if you listen to this is your first podcast that you're listening to, if you listen to any of the others, share, like, and rate the hell out of it, because we need you.
Yep. And I will be bringing some of my own personal stories and I would like to get your perspective on the old me and the way I used to do things. So
we'll bring, oh my gosh, perfect timing.
What is your cat's name?
Simba Christmas.
Simba Christmas.
Simba Christmas.
Nice. When did you get it, Simba?
5 years ago now. Pretty sure 5 years ago. October of.
Wow, never mind.
Thinking more of 6 years. October of 14.
Why don't you name him?
Well, he was a gift. He was a gift to myself at the time. I was actually struggling, and we could talk about it. I was struggling with some depression while in grad school, and a lot of it was isolation based. So he was a gift to myself.
Emotional support cat.
An emotional support gift.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about it.
All right.
That's right.
Awesome.
That's right.
Awesome, man. Yeah. Well, let's close out.
One more thing. God, we're never gonna close this freaking thing. See, this is what happens. This is what you're gonna get with us. It's just this, like, we're gonna have to reel each other in. Yeah. We're also gonna be providing a lot of guests. So we're gonna be bringing on players. I'd love to bring on coaches. So you can anticipate some guests to be on as well at some point. That's the last thing I wanted to add for sure.
Awesome.
Not Simba doesn't count.
Yeah. But Simba and Simba's butthole will always be welcome.
Get your butt out of the screen, boy.
Mating season. All right. No more kitties. All right, let's wrap up this episode. I'm excited to get this project started.
Looking forward to it.
All right, man. Peace.
Awesome.